My name is Martina, and I'm a 25-year-old girl with green eyes and very long blonde hair that reaches up to my butt. I have a passion for travel, and in the last one I had an amazing adventure. I had just arrived in a new city and was looking for a place to stay, and on a website I found a small apartment that was very cheap and easy to reach. The apartment was really very small with one bedroom, a living room with kitchen and a bathroom. The first night I was very tired and fell asleep quickly, but was awakened in the middle of the night by some screams and a clanging noise. The noises were coming from the apartment next to mine, and they seemed to get louder and louder. At first I thought I was wrong, but even though I heard less screaming, the metallic sound was constant. After several minutes everything was silent, and I got up to see if I could spy on something from the balcony, but the neighbor had closed it, and so I approached my front door, and through the peephole I saw a small hooded figure walking away towards the stairs and disappearing into the shadow of the night. I was terrified, but for the rest of the night I felt nothing and was able to sleep with difficulty. The next morning I continued my sightseeing around the city, and when it was time to go home I hoped for a quiet night, and that was it. The third day was one of the most beautiful because I had walked a lot and had bought several souvenirs, and when I returned home I met on the stairs a powerful woman with long black hair braided and dressed completely in black. I don't know why, but seeing it in her eyes almost scared me, like she was able to read her mind. Despite the meeting, I was very happy with my purchases, and decided to take a shower and a shampoo to relax. I had just finished drying my hair when I heard the clanging coming from the neighbor's room, but this time without shouting, and so I thought it was just a film that made these sounds even if I wanted to know more, and so I left my apartment and stood in front of the Brings neighbors to peek through the lock to figure out what it was. The sound was still audible even though the light inside was dim and I could only see the silhouette of a person standing moving. To try to see more, I hit the door with my knee and I thought they heard the sound inside, so I ran to my apartment and slammed the door in fear. Shortly after, I heard that the door of the nearby house had opened, but I heard no sound even though I hoped they hadn't noticed my ambush. The next day would be the last night I had to spend in this city, and I decided to spend as much time out as possible. I had come down in the morning and had on a short-sleeved shirt and short jeans because of the heat, and I had tied my hair in a ponytail at the back of my neck with a new elastic that I had bought that same day. I was so happy with the day that on my way back to the apartment I completely forgot about the noise from the neighbors and felt like relaxing a bit before going to bed. Arriving in the atrium of the building, I saw that the lift was out of order and I decided to go up the stairs, but I didn't imagine I would be in for a surprise. As I went up I saw that there was only one light on and therefore half of the staircase was in the dark, but my astonishment increased when I saw the woman of a few nights ago in front of me. She was still dressed in black, with the same braid hanging down her shoulders, and her gaze fixed on me. For a moment I stopped to stare at her and I didn't understand why I was so unable to take my eyes off her and proceed, but I felt so attracted to her that I didn't know what to say about her. After a while I took a step back and she said, "Apparently we have a young spy here." She had discovered me. Out of fear, I didn't know what to say, and started stammering when she continued. "I've never liked spies, and I think they should be punished." I was scared and tried to turn to run away, but the woman grabbed my long ponytail and pulled me towards her. "Where do you think you're running to, huh? Now I'll show you what happens to those who don't know how to mind her business." So she started pulling me hard by the ponytail and dragging me towards her apartment. I was so terrified I couldn't speak, and when we entered, she locked the door and threw me to the floor. Because of the blow, I was a bit groggy and I was so scared that the only thing I could say to her was "No, please." I didn't see anything, I swear. The woman grabbed me by the wrist and lifted me off the ground, and he eagerly ripped off both my shirt and jeans before sitting down on the sofa and making me lay belly down on his lap. I was upset and I hoped she didn't hurt me, but I didn't even have time to speak that she took my panties off me, and she forcefully started to spank me. She pounded hard and I wanted to get up, but with one hand she kept me pinned on her legs, and with the other she spanked me harder and harder. I felt like I was a child grounded, and I couldn't stop crying even though a strange feeling was building up in me. She was hurting me, but I loved being submissive, and the more she spanked me, the more I was amazed by it all. By now my butt felt on fire from all the beatings, and I hoped he would stop when he let go of my neck, but only to be able to grab my hair and pull it while he continued to spank me. I had never enjoyed it like this in my life, and I thought it was absurd since a woman was spanking me like no one had ever done, and she was also pulling me by the hair, which was my pride. She finally stopped spanking me, but she didn't finish my agony. "Well, now we can move on to the next step," she told me while continuing to pull me by the tail of her. She pushed me into an armchair located in the center of the room. I wanted to be able to say or do something, but before I had time to move, she had handcuffed my hands and legs to the chair. I was once again at her mercy. I was trying to stop crying even though my butt hurt and I was having trouble sitting up, and the woman looked me in the face and said, "Now let's go to the highlights." She opened a wardrobe behind me and came in front of me with a huge black leather bag, and when she opened it, she took out a vibrator and turned to look at me. "Do you like being a whore? Now let's see how much you're going to love this." Without delay, she approached me and stuck it between my legs, and staring straight into her eyes, she turned it on. I absolutely didn't want to feel pleasure, but she was stronger than me and I thought there was nothing that could turn me on more at that moment. The woman was not of the same opinion, and ripping off my bra, she applied 2 clips on my nipples, to hurt me. I felt a very strong pain both in the breast and in the butt from the spankings of before, but the vibrator and the submissive state I was in was so strong that I hoped it would do more to me. The woman came up behind the chair, and she grabbed her tail by pulling it with such force that I thought she wanted to rip it off my head. I screamed in both pain and pleasure. I was truly over the moon. "How are you enjoying?" she yelled at me. "Again. Again. Please again." The vibrator was at full power and my head was completely tense from the hair being pulled hard. My wish was about to come true. "Tell me, what is it that you like most about yourself?" I was enjoying it so much that I couldn't answer, and only after she had repeated the question giving me a slap I yelled at her, "My hair. It's my pride." I could hear her laughing, and as she bit my ear she whispered to me, "Then I think they need to go away." At these words I let go of my tail, and she approached the table where she had her black bag. I was too scared and enjoying myself too much to try to figure out what she wanted to do, but when she turned around I saw that she was holding a bright pair of scissors in her hands, and they looked sharp too. "No," I tried to say, but my mouth came out more worries than anything else, and I go back to my back and she took my tail back. "What do you want me to do with this hair?" I was terrified, because I didn't want him to cut my hair, but I was about to explode, and inside I had a whole new sensation. I wanted to be completely submissive, and I wanted him to do whatever he wanted to my hair, so I screamed. "Cut them off. Please cut off my tail here and now. Cut out." I closed my eyes enjoying the moment and felt her open and close the scissors next to my ear several times before feeling my ponytail fully pulled. "I'll settle you now, bitch." She felt the scissors at the back of her neck, and then I heard the sound I've never hoped to hear in my life. Snick, 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 snick. She was cutting my tail, and I was delighted with what I was feeling. "Please don't stop, I want to be shaved. Make it as short as you can. I want you to cut all my hair," I managed as I nearly reached the best orgasm of my life. A little while later, the sound of the scissors stopped and my head went forward. I only saw some hair reaching in front of my eyes, and the woman in black was showing me my ponytail dangling from her hands. Although I loved my hair, I still wanted to feel that feeling of helplessness as the woman cut it hard for me, and there I realized that she had put down the scissors and had taken an electric razor that she was holding. The click of the razor meant she had been turned on, and looking into her eyes I knew my hidden desire was about to be fulfilled. She grabbed the hair on her forehead and forced me to watch her as she placed the razor at the base of my forehead and pushed it hard onto my head. "Ayawa. I screamed in pleasure as I was shaved. By now, I had reached my orgasm, and as I was coming between my legs I was getting more and more wet. I could feel how the woman continued to shave me. She finished the head, she placed my face into her chest, and she shaved the back of my neck. It was an indescribable sensation, and when I had ceased all my pleasures I stood motionless listening to the woman in black finish her shave. Shortly after, the razor stopped and I was still tied up and with my head resting on the woman's breast. She licked my head, and it sent a shiver down her spine. She finally pulled away, and she took off both my breast clips and the vibrator, and only then did she take my tail back in her hand and said, "This was the punishment you deserved." When she released me and told me to leave, I struggled up from her chair, but before I went to her door, I threw myself over her to hug her. She tried to push me away, but I kissed her, and after a few seconds I moved away and looked into her eyes. I didn't know what to say to her, but I wanted to thank her for what she had done to me, so she waved me towards the door and I advanced, even if before going out she managed to pull her braid at least once, and when she turned she saw my smile and my tongue sticking out. I did. "If you don't leave now, take the rest." "Maybe," I replied. She didn't say anything, but that half smile was enough for me. I went back to the room and got into bed, and before falling asleep she realized that the sound I'd heard the previous nights was the razor working.